Evening, everyone. It's 5:51 on this beautiful, sunny second day of spring, and we had a pretty decent market here today. After yesterday's big run up, excuse me, we had positive futures all night and into the morning, and we actually made the high in the Dow, which was up 349 in the first 15-minute bar. So that was pretty impressive. Then we started down and went sideways for quite a while until about 2 o'clock when we bottomed at up 113. So we never got back to down on the day. And coming into the close, we moved all the way back up to close up 316.02, up just under 1%. The Nasdaq was up 185 or 1.58. S&P up 1.3% at 5130, and the big winner of the day again, which is probably two or three times in the last 5 trading days, was the Russell, up 32.75 or 1.88%. Transports were up just under that, 1.67, and the VIX was lower by $2.70, right back into that 21.5 area. Advanced declines were 3.5 to 1 on the NYSE and 2.8 to 1 on the Nasdaq. Volume was a little on the light side, a kind of an average day at 4.7 billion, considering that we have an FOMC meeting or announcement tomorrow afternoon. And, I'm not surprised to see the volume down a little. On the economic front, the only real number that we had today was existing home sales, which was a monster, up 14.5% with an annual run rate of 4.58 million. This was expected to be in the neighborhood of 4 million. Now, year over year, we're still down relative to the monthly number, but this is the first time in 13 months where sales were up and we had this kind of a blockbuster number. Okay, so this morning I was talking to you about ALT, Altimmune. It was as low as 583 after closing at 1092. It actually got down as low as 479, and the last on it is 497, down 595 or 54.5%. And this was on news that the headline looked very bullish, that they were satisfied with their phase 2 trials. Clearly, the rest of us were wrong. Foot Locker, which was upgraded yesterday to $50 and traded all the way from 47 down to 39 and change, today was 42.51, and that's up 265, which is pretty much exactly what it was down yesterday. I think yesterday it was down 245. So that, and then of course after the close we had the big news, earnings from both Nike and GameStop. And unbelievable as it's going to sound, GameStop was the better of the two. Not only did they beat on revenues, but they actually had a surprise profit. The stock had closed 1765, up 78 cents, excuse me, or 4.6%, and then traded as high as 26 and change. The actual high was 26.65, and the last is 26.34, up 9.47 or 56%. So a major move there. Now, Nike they beat top and bottom line. The stock had closed 125.64, up 444 or 3.6%. The numbers looked like 12.5 billion in sales versus 11.7, and earnings of 79 cents versus 55 cents expected. And on the news, the stock took off and added another about $6.50 to trade at 131.97. However, on the earnings call, it turns out that there was an 8% drop in China sales and margins declined. And the stock, in fact, made a new low on the day of 121. During regular hours, the low had been 122.97. So the stock came down, and the last is 123 and a half, pardon me, 123.10, up $1.90 or 1.5%, but that was substantially off the high and lower by $1.50 or so than the actual New York close. Also, want to mention that we made a trade in Unum today. This is a stock that is in my total return portfolio, and I wrote against it today. It was upgraded in a couple of places, um, and it closed yesterday at I think 37 and a half. And I tried to write it yesterday and didn't get filled at $2.80, I think is where I had it in yesterday. So this morning, when it gapped up and made the high at 40.14, I wrote the 37 and a half calls against it. It would not bother me terribly to lose this stock at that level. So I got $3.40 for the 37 and a halves, which would basically give me 40.90 plus a 60-cent dividend the day before these options expired. And the stock only cost me $18. So, looking at $41, I know it's hard. I can't, I didn't sell it because I can't replace 6.9%, $1.32 a year in yield. But up at 41, I'm not so concerned about that, considering it's, well over 100% gain. But since it's been up in this area, this is an financial services and insurance. This is a company that might have a bunch of bonds that it hasn't marked. I mean, there could be problems here. So I wouldn't mind losing the stock a little over 41. Um, and so that's why I wrote it. So we wrote two of those calls, and we got $3.40 for them. So nice that we didn't get it done yesterday. Chart on the screen is the oil. Told you yesterday we had bottomed, higher high, higher low today. My only issue is right here, and I mentioned it yesterday. I really would like to see us get through 69.83 and close above there. Today's high, 69.77, and a close of 69.67. So, we're coming off the lower Bollinger Band, where, as I mentioned, we spent 4 days before bottoming. It would not surprise me to see this back in the 72.5 to 75 area, as things with all the banks and all of the international economies kind of reset after the problems we've had. Okay, for tomorrow, 7 a.m., mortgage apps. They were up last week. I assume that they're going to be up this week, surprisingly. At 10:30, we have crude inventories, and at 2 o'clock, we have the FOMC announcement. And believe me, I will be on top of all of that for you. Have a good evening.